Hey guys, welcome back to the Natural Female Muscle Podcast for episode number 43, where today we're going to touch a little bit on your support network. And I suppose an easy way of putting that is just the people that you surround yourself with and how that can affect your bodybuilding journey, because it definitely makes a huge difference to the way that your bodybuilding process feels, the experience of that. And, without a doubt, the success that you can achieve as a bodybuilder, as we know, your support network is massive in anything in life. It's not just bodybuilding. But I think that when you're looking at your bodybuilding journey, and especially because, let's be honest, like bodybuilding encompasses everything in your day to day. Like, this is the huge difference with, bodybuilding compared to a lot of other sports, is that, in so many other sports, you go away for your training session, or you go to a match, or you go to a game, or you go to an event, and then you come home, and then that's pretty much it. Like, yes, you might have some periods where, you have to monitor your diet or whatever it may be, but it's not quite as invasive in the way that bodybuilding is. It encompasses everything. It's what you eat, when you sleep, when you rest, when you move, like so many different things. So I think the people that surround you along that journey can play a huge role in that. And I feel like this episode was quite well timed, because actually next week I am supposed to be going to the States to actually support my amazing friend, Meg Sylvester. She's competing, so she's doing a few shows there. I say supposed, I'm definitely going. I'm just having a bit of a problem with my foot at the moment. Not that anyone really cares, but if anyone's been following on, just as a bit of an update on where I'm at, I'm in a bit of a diet phase at the moment. I'll be going to the States regardless, but I'm having a bit of a situation with my toe. I don't know how it's happened, but it's causing, let's just say it's creating a few hurdles. That's maybe the best way of putting it, making things a little bit difficult, which is annoying. Just when it comes to, obviously, like cardio expenditure, things like that. And I don't know if anyone knows anything about these things, and nobody really cares, so you can skip through this if you want. But the options that they kind of give you are like obviously you can have surgery to basically like have your toenail removed. I don't want to have that, ideally. I would like to just get this resolved and be able to do all the things that I need to do. And it's not something I would like to have to think about. But if anyone's interested in the updates, I do share all of that and everything pertaining to my diet and stuff on my MBW log as well. So if you're interested in seeing any bits, definitely follow along there. And maybe as I get a little bit further into this phase, I'll do an episode that actually kind of goes into a little bit more detail with, regarding this process specifically. But as I was saying, I am going to the US next week to support Meg, which I'm so unbelievably excited for. I have obviously been very, very close with Meg for a long time now. I think we first became friends in 2019, which is crazy because that will be like nearly 5 years come like this end of this year, which is mad. But yeah, I'm just so excited. Like, she has been such a huge part of my bodybuilding journey. She really has. Like, back in 2017, 2018, before I actually met Meg for the first time, she was one of my main inspirations in bodybuilding. And she has just very naturally become obviously one of my closest friends, but I've never actually been able to see her compete. So I'm really excited to see her compete. And she's a huge inspiration for me now still, as I've spoken about on so many different podcasts. But yeah, she's been a huge part of my support network and has been a very big part, I suppose, of how much my support network has changed over the years, because it has changed a lot from when I first started bodybuilding to where I'm at now. It's very, very different. And that has played a massive role in I say success, but I will say success, because success to me is enjoyment of the process. Success to me is being able to do everything that I can do to be better. So in that sense, yeah, it's played a huge role in my success as a bodybuilder and as a coach as well. So that support network can make or break your process, or at least go from making that process very difficult to making it a lot easier for you. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I see a lot of people, and I see it in clients a lot of the time, where they either, simply thrive and they just do the do, and it's relatively easy. Yes, there's challenges, but the challenge is the work itself, rather than maybe the people around them or the environment around them making something so much more challenging and potentially even so much more unenjoyable as well, which I think is quite sad, because you want to be able to get the most out of the things that you enjoy. And I think sometimes we underestimate how much of that is within our control, because there's quite a lot of it that is. And that's why there's a few different areas that we're going to discuss in this episode today. So there are three main things, I think, when it comes to your support network and things to be aware of. The first one is being aware of the support network or the people around you that you cannot change. Like, you cannot move those people out of your day to day. You can't get rid of them. They are part of your support network. They're part of the people that you have to interact with on a daily basis. And you need to work around that and manage those people as best as possible. So that's the first one. The second one is the people that you are choosing actively to surround yourself with. So the people that you do have a choice, whether you want to be around them or not, and to what extent they influence you on the daily basis. And then there is also, finally, the way that you then interact with the people that you surround yourself with. So not just who you're choosing to be around. It's like, okay, how are you choosing to be around others? What are you doing within your own actions? Because that then reflects in the way that they maybe react around you as well. And I think sometimes as bodybuilders, in a lot of situations, we think very much about ourselves, like we are the main character, but we're not the main character. Yeah, you're the main character in your own life to an extent, but there's a whole production going on around you. It's not just about us at points, and appreciating that you're a side character in somebody else's film and they're the main character and you're affecting them is also important. So yeah, there's a couple of things we can go through today, but we'll obviously start with the first one that I noted there, which is kind of the people that you have to be around. And there's probably, I'd say, a few main people that come under this umbrella, which is maybe one, like old friends. So people that you've been friends with for a very, very long time. I say this is a maybe because for most people, they'll maybe still want to be friends with these people. They'll still be associated with them, and there's still people that they want in their lives, and it's not like an option to just cut someone off. And maybe you do genuinely really like this person, but there might be difficulties with that, because maybe there's someone that you've known, before bodybuilding has come into your life, and you absolutely love them near and dear as a friend, but they don't quite get things as a bodybuilder. And that means that, at certain points in your life, it becomes difficult to maybe maintain that relationship or to manage that relationship, because, say with this friend, you're used to going out for lunch or going out for dinners or going on nights out or whatever it is. And now you're in prep, and that's not happening. And you have to learn how to manage that. So you have potentially old friends. You've got your family, of course. So whoever is in your wider family circle, that ultimately they're not people that you can swap out. And I wouldn't ever recommend writing off a family member because of bodybuilding, unless obviously there's something much deeper going down. But you have, your family, and probably in most situations, your family will mean a lot to you. So they are people, again, you cannot change. And then I suppose your work colleagues as well, because you'll be interacting with people like that on the day-to-day, maybe clients if you obviously work in different jobs, but I doubt that's going to play a huge role on your own bodybuilding process, but definitely the people that you work with. And these are ultimately just people that are part of your network that you are probably seeing regularly or speaking to regularly, that will play a role in how you go about your daily tasks. And how maybe they influence how you feel on the day to day as well. And the people within this group range on a scale. So they range on the scale from being, completely supportive and understanding to being unsupportive and not understanding. Obviously, if they are the former and that first option, then, great, no stress. There's no problems. They get it. They understand. They support. Amazing. Now, for most people, it's rare that's going to be the circumstance. Some people are very fortunate to either have parents, friends, family who are involved in bodybuilding, or maybe even just get it, like they understand it, sort of thing. But most of us, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of people in our life who don't quite understand. That's just the way it is, really. Especially as females as well. I think we get definitely a lot more pushback, a lot more. And the main problem with this is that it just creates stress for you. So, like, if you are around people all the time who are questioning what you're doing, or not being supportive, and every time you go around to visit them, like, you want to go visit your family, you want to go visit your friends, or you've got to go to work and you've got to be around people and they're just constantly nagging you, like they're asking you questions and stressing you out and, making you feel uncomfortable, making you feel stupid. Like, say, for example, you're on prep. And this is the thing, you have to learn a degree of resiliency, I think. Because, like, if you're on prep, you're probably going to have people sat around you, say, like, work colleagues, and they're like, oh, don't you just want to eat this? Or don't you ever get tired of it? Don't you ever get bored of it? Because people just love to ask questions like that. And you kind of got to sit there, and at some point, it'll probably, quite simply, it'll just piss you off and you'll get irritated. And it's annoying, but this is where you have to learn a couple of things. You have to learn to definitely have patience and to have resilience. Most of the time, like 90% of the time, people are like this because they just don't understand. That's honestly the biggest thing, is they just don't get it. Like, they don't get it. It's so different to anything they could ever comprehend. Most people don't have a basic concept of, like, macronutrients, or even the purpose of training, or why you would want to do these things. And as a result, they'll probably ask a lot. They won't understand it. If you go around to visit them, they'll probably try and offer you all these foods, or they'll try and even cook a meal for you and not understand why you can't have something that they've cooked for you. And this is where, probably, as alongside the patience and resilience, the best thing that you can do is educate. Try to educate these people, especially as, like I say, these are people that are in your life, especially your family, who I'm sure, like, want to support you, but don't quite understand why you're doing what you're doing, or how they can support you. Because probably, even in, like I say, those situations where they're saying, oh, I'll cook you this, or I'll do that, they're probably just doing it because they want to help, but they just don't quite understand what's helpful and what isn't. And a lot of the times, being told, I actually don't want you to do anything that's helpful, that's probably not something that they want to hear, but you have to help them understand why they don't need to do anything, and, why you have to do the things that you have to do. Educating may take time. Like, you're probably not going to just tell someone once, like, oh, this is what I do, this, and then they'll just leave you to it. It'll probably take a long time. Like, with my family, it has taken me a really long time to get them to understand what I do. I've been bodybuilding now for 7 years, I think. Yeah, 7 years. And my mum gets it. My dad kind of gets it. Not really. My nan, bless her, doesn't quite understand it. I went round to see her last week, and she does it every time. She's the type of person, we'll all have somebody probably in our family that's like this, and they're wonderful, but they want to do everything for you. Like, you go around and they want to put on a spread of food, or they want to offer you something. And, every time she's like, can I get you this? Can you do that? Do you want milk in your coffee? No, I don't. I'm okay. Thank you. And I do really actually word that to her as well, is like, I don't say, like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. I really make sure I'm like, no, like, I can't, but I can't do it because I don't want to do it. And that's part of me reaching my goals is, not doing this because of XYZ. And she is from a generation as well that like can't even contemplate the idea of a female walking into a gym, and can't even understand anything basic really when it comes to, nutrition. It's very much, she's from that kind of era, I suppose, where it's like, if it's cooked fresh at home, it's good for you. It doesn't matter what it is. And trying to explain the concept of macros and calories is hard, but I have actually reached out to her a lot more lately, and she's starting to understand it. Especially through just kind of educating her on the fact that like, this is something that means a lot to me, and really opening up about how passionate I am about something. I used to be very instantly always just defensive, like always like, oh no, because I have to do this, and you just don't get it, you don't understand. I was like that, and I was also 17 when I first started bodybuilding, so like I was obviously going to be a bit more immature with my response, but instead like just taking my time and trying to understand things a bit more rationally in a way that, those people around me can understand has been really helpful. Don't get me wrong, there's still people that don't get it. But there's also reasons why I try not to open up too much about bodybuilding to those people, because that's just a choice that I've made to make my process easier, and thankfully I'm in a position now where I say thankfully, but I mean, I'm of course in a position where I don't live with my family. I don't live with people in general who don't understand bodybuilding. I'm very fortunate to just live with AJ now, who of course understands things fully. But prior to that, I lived at uni. I then lived at home. I've lived with other people, where it's not been quite as easy. And this is actually sometimes a huge reason why, if you're in those situations and you are living with or you are surrounded by people who do make your process quite difficult, whether that be a partner, whether that be family, whether that be flatmates, roommates, whatever it is, that's why you have to time certain things in your bodybuilding journey, like prep specifically, to be at a time that works well, be at a time when it's not going to be stressful. Because if you look at your home environment and you're, living with your family at home, or you're living with a flatmate who just causes you a lot of stress, and the idea of prepping is just like not going to be fun in that environment, don't do it. Like, there's no pressure for you to have to do something in a circumstance that just doesn't work well. So that's my overall thoughts when it comes to those people that you have to be around, or are just simply in your life and you want to be in your life, but you maybe face some difficulties when it comes to your bodybuilding journey specifically. Now, the next thing we're going to move on to is obviously going to be the people that you actually choose to surround yourself with. So this is obviously going to be like friends, maybe closer relationships, so like your partner, and this is for people both inside bodybuilding and outside bodybuilding too. So you will probably have friends, or maybe even friends, and maybe also a partner who is either in bodybuilding or is not in bodybuilding, or is a bodybuilder themselves or isn't bodybuilding themselves. And one thing that I think is very, very, very important to make clear here is that having people in your network that are bodybuilders does not necessarily mean that your support network is better. And that's a fact. If anything, if you're surrounded by the wrong people, it can actually be worse, and they can actually put a negative dampener in your own process. I know plenty of people who do not have a close circle of friends that are bodybuilders, do not have a partner that is a bodybuilder, and they actually thrive really well in that environment because the people around them are supportive, and they actually allow them to switch off from bodybuilding. And when they're bodybuilding, they're just focused on their own process and they're not worried about anyone else. But then at the same time, there's also other people who are only surrounded by people who maybe are bodybuilders, and that is actually stressful for them because it makes their day-to-day difficult. And then the same goes obviously on the flip side, even with having bodybuilders there. Like, the reality is that it doesn't actually matter whether they're a bodybuilder or not. It matters whether that person is supportive and understands your goals. Yes, you might have a slightly higher likelihood of them understanding your goals should they be a bodybuilder, but I don't really think that's the case. I think that especially when it comes to bodybuilding, like bodybuilding follows very simple principles in the sense that it's about like hard work, consistency, dedication, passion. There are a lot of different fields, a lot of different sports, a lot of different subjects where people can relate to that. There's a lot of bodybuilders who still don't relate to that, and that's difficult. But there's also a lot of people who enjoy other things that understand that, whether they're into music, whether they love their job. That there can be so many things, and that's actually the most important thing. And as I mentioned there are, couple of, I suppose, pros and cons with having people both inside and out. I actually think that having a mixture of people that are inside and outside of bodybuilding is really nice. Because I think that having some people, like I say, that are inside bodybuilding, it helps you to have some aspects of being understood, being relatable, being able to talk to them about specific things, and even to, let's be honest, like have fun, like go and train with them or go and pose with them or go to shows with them, things like that. But then also I think having people outside of bodybuilding is very good for your relationship with bodybuilding, to give you a refresher, to remind you that bodybuilding isn't everything. And like I say, as long as they actually understand what you do, amazing. Like I love having people in my life who I can go and see for a few hours and I don't speak a word about training or nutrition or things like that, because it's good to have a switch off. It's good to have something that allows you to come away from things. But regardless of that, there are some situations that you really don't want. And these are probably some of the main flags that I would kind of look for here. So the first one is if you are surrounded by somebody who you notice is inflicting a negative mindset or view of generally themselves in their own bodybuilding journey. So this is like somebody within bodybuilding, if they're reflecting that on you. So this is if you've got people who are your friends in the bodybuilding industry, like appreciate if that's actually, they bring positivity. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, your friends should always be happy and you should always be happy, because friends are also there for support. Like that's what people are there for when you're having bad times. But are they actually being friends, and are they inflecting, good things in your bodybuilding journey? Or do you actually find that they carry a very negative mindset with their own bodybuilding process? Are they maybe actually starting to make you feel bad about the way that you feel? Are they maybe inflicting the way that they feel about their own physique and their comparison and their training? Like, is that actually starting to affect you? Is that feeding into your process? Are you realizing that? Which is something that you don't always notice. And I think if you think about even like normal friends outside of bodybuilding, if they were feeding things like that into your day to day, like you would not surround yourself with those people. I personally wouldn't. Not everyone is the same. And I'm cutthroat. It's a bit of an aggressive way to put it, but I'm very honest with like what I want from the people that I surround myself with. And I'm also very honest with the way that I surround myself with other people. And I'm aware of when somebody maybe needs support and they need help versus when they're actually quite draining, because people can drain a lot of your energy, and they can start to affect the way that you feel about yourself. Specifically when it does come to bodybuilding, like if you're training with someone or you're talking to someone all the time and they're picking apart the way that you train, or they're picking apart your physique, or they're talking negatively about themselves and their training process, and it starts to make you feel a bit shit about the things that you're doing. You have a group chat with friends and all you do is compare to other people or send each other's, physique shots in, and it actually starts to affect your mindset and the way that you feel about your own bodybuilding journey a lot. Because at the end of the day, your bodybuilding journey is about your process. You can share that with others, but if you do start to notice that your own relationship with yourself and your own bodybuilding journey is shifting, it's just something to be aware of. And of course, people who aren't involved in bodybuilding as well, if they've got a negative mindset with, other things going on with their life or things like that, and that's starting to affect the way that you feel again, it's something to be mindful of. Because probably one of the biggest issues that I find with having people, close in your life who are maybe outside of bodybuilding is that they make you feel, or you can potentially be in a situation where you feel very guilty or you find things very difficult to do the things that you love. Now, everyone has a balance with this. And I have my own example of this because I used to be in a situation where, I was surrounded by people, or I was in like a previous relationship where that person was not a competitive bodybuilder. And I'm very driven. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm very driven. I'm very focused. I'm very intense with the things I do. I know the things that I want. And for me, I require an environment that also reflects that. And I also don't want to feel, guilty for doing things. I think that a lot of females think like that, and I probably didn't realize this when I was younger, but I'd rather be either on my own or, have somebody who brings something to the table, or like we positively influence each other in a sense. But be aware if like there is somebody around who is maybe pulling that away from you and making it very difficult, because my journey as a bodybuilder changed massively once I shifted from that, because I used to be in a position where I felt bad for getting up and doing my cardio, felt bad for going to the gym. I was always stressed about doing things because I felt stupid. I felt like I shouldn't care as much as I should care because, bodybuilding is silly and things like that. And it's not true. It's not. And I think that, whatever you're interested in, you can find people who will be supportive and will understand that you enjoy what you do and be supportive of your goals, regardless of kind of what those things are. And you've then got to like consider, okay, like when you're looking at like important days and things like that, like who do you want surrounding you? When you start to look at show days, when you're going, or even when you're going to the gym and things like that, it's like, who do you want around you that's going to positively influence your journey? I mean, show days is a massive one. Like when it comes to your show day, which I think I spoke about this in the show day episode, like the people that you have around you on show day can either make that day like really chill, really enjoyable, really good fun, or like really stressful, or just feel quite insignificant. And that sucks. It's not very fun. And I think just having that awareness, like this is the thing, is like, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but you are in control of this variable. This is one variable that you are in control of, is the people you're choosing to be around. And they can really make a huge difference in the way that you feel about bodybuilding and about life. And like I've said, with me, it's not just been bodybuilding specific, it's been coaching, it's been my mental health, it's been so many things, my belief in myself as a whole within my whole system. And you choose who you want to be around and where you want to cut edges, and how much bodybuilding means to you, how much different things mean to you. Like for some people, they might be with somebody, like as an example, they've been in a relationship with someone for like 15 years and they've recently found bodybuilding. Their partner doesn't really get it, and maybe they make things a bit difficult along the way, but they've been with that person for so long and they don't get bodybuilding. But at the end of the day, bodybuilding isn't everything to them either, So it's like different circumstances. So just because if you do have somebody who doesn't quite get it, I'm not saying cut them off. You have your own balance with what you want. I'm quite ruthless with a lot of things, but that's just the way that I am. And that's also what makes me happy. And I think that's probably sometimes a bad thing with maybe bodybuilding, is that people say like, oh, you must do this, you must do that, or you have to be surrounded by this person, you have to do that. And you find what works for you. You find what works for you and you find what makes you happy. But just be aware of that. Be aware of that and don't ignore things that maybe aren't making you happy or aren't working well. That's the thing you've got to be aware of. So that's covering kind of the people that you choose to surround yourself with. And the third one, which is, as I mentioned, is like, how are you influencing those people? Because you are part of that support network. Like you're in there and you're influencing other people. So just as I've gone through all of the things in terms of how they can affect you, flip that around and think about how you're affecting them. Because there is a big difference in bodybuilding between prioritizing your goals and just being selfish, or honestly just being a bit of a dick to the people around you at times, which happens, and that's not bodybuilding exclusive. I think that's just life. But do like keep awareness of that, And that is something that honestly, like with age, with maturity, with more time that you spend bodybuilding, more time that you spend training, like you'll just get a better awareness of like things that, you know, you're okay with doing, things that you will stand your ground on, and certain things where you maybe don't need to be so intense about it, or you maybe don't need to be so defensive, or, you know, you maybe need to be mindful of how you behave around other people. Because I mean, this is also why the people you have around you will affect the way that you behave around others. And what I mean by that is that I also used to hang around people who would maybe excuse my behaviors or would not call me out on my bullshit when I was, you know, being silly, or I was, you know, being negative and things like that. And, you know, both Meg and AJ, probably two of the closest people in my corner, would call me out on a lot of things. And this is kind of bringing back all the way to like 2020, which is when both of them were first like a huge part of my life. And there were a lot of points in those stages where they would, you know, sit me down and be like, look, you got to sort this out. I'm not having, and they taught me a lot because they made me realize that they weren't having negativity in their life, or they weren't having somebody who pulled their energy down. And that made me sort my stuff out, because I was like, right, they're actually right. And I need to sort myself out, but also be honest with the things that I then want around me. And I think that having people like that in your corner is really important. So that's also actually a huge part of your support network. It's not just, I suppose, the people that you don't choose to be around, but the people that you do choose to be around. Because I think a lot of people want to avoid people as well who are honest with them and tell them certain things. Like there's a lot of situations where I've had sit downs with AJ or sit downs with Meg, or conversations, I should say. And most people would be like, that they were horrible. Like, I don't want to be friends with them, or this or that, which they weren't, by the way. They're just telling me to maybe like stop being, you know, mopey in the gym, or to, you know, really pick up my mindset and not be so down on myself, and things like that, that most people would probably could take offensively or be upset that somebody's being so honest because they like a softer approach. Whereas like, I like that approach. You know, I like having people around me that will be honest. I like having people around me that will be transparent, because, you know, someone being soft on me isn't something that's going to help me to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And you, again, find your balance with the people that you want to surround yourself with, and you can take the things away from that. But that's, I've gone off on a tangent, but that's what I was saying with, you know, have some time to think about the way that you're impacting those around you. So there's not much to that point, to be honest, other than that, you know, you just need to think about how you are impacting those around you, and just be mindful that your actions have as much an effect on them as you do on yours, because that's really important. Now I'm just going to double check to see if I haven't got any other additional questions that have followed through, because I did put some question boxes up, but I'm pretty sure I've been through everything. But it's been really good to actually talk through this today. This is something that is obviously so important when it comes to your bodybuilding journey, but is not something that I've really discussed in depth on the podcast before. I have done a few different episodes on this actually on MBW. So I did one episode about kind of like friends and family, and I suppose like bodybuilding through different stages of your life, which is kind of related to this. So if anyone's interested in hearing a little bit more on that, do just let me know. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. As always, if anyone has any questions or requests, let me know. I did have a request that I'm really interested to talk about, which is basically talking about taking time off training, and specifically also breast augmentations, because I suppose I can kind of tie that into two, because I can talk about having a BA and then also taking time off around training, because it's quite common, I think, in the fitness industry, and that was kind of part of the request. So if anyone's interested in hearing me talk about that, let me know, because I'd love to dive into that, and I can really go through that in detail, and, you know, talk through my experience and go through the whole timeline, which I think might be quite helpful. And as I say, even for an array of different surgeries, operations, procedures. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in hearing about that. But aside from that, it will probably be a couple of weeks until the next episode, guys. Just because, like I say, I'm in the US next week, so it's unlikely I'm going to be able to get a episode recorded whilst I am in the US. But I have got a guest episode planned, and that will be coming out on the 24th of April. So I'm really excited for that one. And any athlete requests as well, guys, like just let me know. Because when it comes to arranging guests, I just want to get on people that people actually want to hear from as well, which is really important. So yeah, if anyone's got any requests, let me know. But hopefully when I get back, I'll have some more diet updates because I'll be a little bit further into my diet by then. Hopefully my toe will have fixed itself as well. If not, you'll have heard about it, and that will probably be great timing for a surgery episode. Oh, touch wood. Hoping that doesn't happen because I can't do that. It's not on the cards for me. I'm not in the mood. Right. I'm going to stop rambling now because I'll end up going on a tangent at the end of this one. Thank you guys for listening. You're all amazing. Anyone who listens, you mean the world. You're fantastic. I love being able to have the opportunity to just talk to anyone who listens about little thoughts, little things, subjects that might potentially help you. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys. If you can rate the podcast, as always, please do. It means the world. And yeah, I will be back with you guys hopefully sometime soon with another episode. In the meantime, have an awesome rest of your day and have a lovely rest of your week ahead whenever you guys are listening.